As a petrolhead, we all dreamt of one day owning a house with a racetrack in the back garden.
This house has everything from the ultimate driveway, the dream home, and of course, the crazy racetrack.
But today, I'm going to tell you the story of how the UK government tried to stop me from building my dream home. The crazy thing is, this house didn't always look like this. In fact, it looked like this. 20 years ago, when I bought this, it was a derelict farm. It was unlivable. In fact, it didn't even have running water.
Sadly, the previous owner, the farmer, passed away, but he had no family to pass it on to. So the proceeds of the sale of the farm and his bank account was left to the cleaner.
It went up for auction on the 23rd of May, 1993. And for me, it was love at first sight. The house itself was falling apart, but what attracted me to it was the 10 acres of land that was surrounding it.
Which I knew would be the perfect place to build a petrolhead's playground. So this was a big day, as I wanted this house for me and my future family. I set myself a budget for this house and the auction began. The bids continued to climb as I battled with somebody who had obviously also fallen in love with the property. But the question was, who wanted it more? After 10 very long minutes of bidding back and forth, I placed my final maximum bid of £510,000. And luckily for me, the hammer dropped.
I couldn't believe that I had bought our forever home, but I had no idea the problems I'd just got us into. Day one at the farm, and it was a lot worse than what I thought. We'd been told by the council that this so-called house could not be demolished and rebuilt. It had to be renovated, which was going to cost a lot more money than we had planned. We never understood why they decided that at the time, but what we found out later, it all made a lot more sense. We started stripping out all the overgrown trees and bushes. They had literally taken over the whole property.
But soon after, I received this.
A tree preservation order, which meant I wasn't allowed to chop down the big trees. Very quickly, the council were becoming my worst nightmare. I did exactly what the council told me. I got rid of all the overgrown bushes, but I kept the 2 big trees. For the first and the last time, I actually agreed with the council. That tree preservation order was justified. You couldn't chop these down. They're beautiful. And that legal paperwork they had sent was about to backfire on them massively, because they had solved a huge problem.
The house was unsafe for many reasons, but the big one was the foundations. They were weak and needed underpinning.
But to do that, we needed the council's approval. But you guessed it, they rejected it. And that was because a different department of the same council had put on us that tree preservation order.
They were concerned that strengthening and digging deeper foundations would damage the roots of the 2 trees, and that could potentially kill these beautiful trees. And of course, that would break the council's tree preservation order. So because of the environmental reason to protect those trees, I was allowed to knock down the old house and build a new one. And of course, the new house would be built further back and safely away from those very important protected tree roots. And the good news for me is a new house build was a lot less money than refurbishing that derelict farmhouse.
But what I didn't know at the time was that tree preservation order had stemmed from someone at the parish council who was personally trying to attack me. But it had backfired massively. The council had scored an own goal, as I knew this had now given me the opportunity to build a new house that I wanted. That obviously frustrated him, and you will see that he was about to spend the next 15 years trying to get back at me.
So after 10 years of working, saving, working, and then more saving, I slowly but surely built the replacement house, and I finally moved in. Now, a very important part of when I bought this house at auction is that it still retains something called permitted development rights, PD rights.
And what that means is because there's no neighbours overlooking it, sometimes there's modifications and enlargements we can do to the house without going for full planning permission.
So I went ahead and expanded my dream home where I was allowed. Starting with number 1, a 10.5 metre long gym. Number 2, it also allowed me to build a 3 metre double-storey extension to the back of the lounge, which was made of big glass panels. And finally, number 3, again a 2-storey, 3 metre long extension extension to the kitchen and the upstairs bedroom. All totally legal and legit, but importantly, without going for full planning permission.
My dream home was coming together nicely until I wanted to complete another building project I had always wanted to do. Now, when I was racing, I was taking it very seriously, and obviously I wanted to win. And part of that was to be as fit as possible. And I fulfilled a lifelong dream to have a swimming pool at the house. Now, when I went to build this, it was outside of PD rights permitted development, so I had to go for full planning permission. The process of full planning permission was way more complicated and very stressful. There was all sorts of hurdles to jump through, and it definitely felt that I was getting resistance from that council. And there was one man's name that was the forefront to all the rejections and negative comments. No matter what we tried to build, the permission was refused. But miraculously, after a full year of back and forth with very expensive planning consultants fighting my corner, we finally were approved to build that swimming pool. But with one very important detail. It stated that the pool to the centimetre needed to be here. Now, that created some problems.
I stored my race buggies and trailers around the back of the house, and my only secure access was here. The location I had planning permission granted made it nearly impossible to manoeuvre anything big through this space.
So I had a plan. Instead of building it here, I was going to build it 4 metres back. Now, that wasn't to make it bigger or prettier. The only reason was to gain more access to the back of the house. Now, obviously, this is my own land. Nobody's overlooking me. I thought it'd be all right, especially as going through that planning permission had been an absolute nightmare. The stress, the arguments, and it took, like I said, over a year. So I thought, rather than going through all of that, I'll just do it because nobody's going to notice. I was wrong.
And also, at the end of the day, it was my land out of sight, and what harm was it going to cause to anybody? So I worked, saved, and started the big project of building my very own swimming pool.
Now, building a swimming pool is obviously very expensive, especially the stuff you don't even get to see, like this plant room. After years and years of saving, I eventually got this pool finished, and nobody had noticed. So I decided to build something else I needed, and this is where I overstepped the mark. Now, at the time, my car collection was also growing, and I'd bought 2 Carrera GTs all the way over from the USA, and I didn't have anywhere to store them securely. But what I did have was a massive, great big piece of grass, loads of hedges, and nobody overlooking me. And we'd already got away with moving that swimming pool. So what I thought is, I'll build myself a garage.
I designed a hip-roofed L-shaped garage which matched the house perfectly. Obviously, I didn't need an architect, so I did my own drawings and planned out this stunning area to house my car collection. After a year, this 11-car garage was built, and it was perfect. I used the swimming pool and my new garage for quite a few years.
I heard no complaints. No neighbours were bothered because basically no one could see it, and I heard nothing from the council. But to be fair, why should I? As it was causing nobody any harm. Until one day I had a phone call from a friend who was actually working here. He rang me to tell me there was a man in my back garden and he had a camera.
These are the actual CCTV photographs I still have on my phone of this man, strolling around inside my property, snapping away like he was on his holidays. My friend Richard confronted him to ask him what the hell he was doing. He responded saying he was from the parish council and he was allowed to enter the property as he was here to inspect some potentially illegal buildings. Now, I wasn't so sure he was just allowed to jump a gate and walk in, so I contacted a solicitor.
So he told me he was definitely trespassing, but to be fair, the damage was already done because now he had the evidence. This parish councillor had gone to an alarming amount of effort to cause me distress, and he had even broken the law. He later defended himself by saying my next door neighbour had allowed him access, which was a total lie. But we found out later in the video that he was very good at not telling the truth. He was about to start though a huge battle to try and get my new garage and dream swimming pool taken down. A storm of enforcement officers came to my door and the nightmare had begun. Now I thought it was the swimming pool A and the garage B, but actually it was C, D, E and F. Let me show you. A and B were valid, but as you're about to see, all the other points were just bullying. This man had brought a war to my door, and I just didn't understand why he was so relentless in fueling this fire.
So in my defence, let's start with C, the gym extension, built under those all-important legal PD rights. It was allowed to be 10.5 metres long. The whole house I built has this decoration at the bottom of the walls, called plinth bricks. Sort of makes it look a bit more grand and posher. So when I built the 10.5 metre extension, I allowed for this plinth brick and transferred it onto the new extension end. However, the council totally ignored it was there in the first place and added it on to the measurements. I showed them clear proof that the plinth was there on the house before the extension. They still spent months arguing it out.
So to get over that, I said to them, so do I literally have to get an angle grinder, chop that down there, and just have that bit missing all open? And they were like, yes, that will get over the problem.
That's not even a brick's width.
So let's move round to Appendix D. Remember again, built under legal permitted development PD rights, 3 metres long.
Okay, so this is the extension. They measured this at 3.1 metres because they were measuring from that face. But this is the outside of my house, and if they measured from there, it was undersized, it was 3 metres, within permitted development rights and legal. The council were coming for me hard. Yes, I had done wrong, but they were throwing arguments which were incorrect and all over 10 centimetres of building. But I was in the right anyway, but they weren't stopping there.
E was this extension here, which baffles me to this day. As I said, it was too long.
2.7 metres, so definitely legal under PD rights. Now Appendix F is probably the most ridiculous one I have ever heard.
Planning permission states that decking can only be a maximum of 300 millimetres above the ground level.
Now underneath here is a load of soil from where I built the house. I never levelled it off.
So because of the uneven ground, some of that was lower than the 300 mil which was allowed.
So they made me drop this level of decking here down to here. All of that lot. Talk about a waste of money and resources, because it looks exactly the same as it did before I moved it. Just 145 mil lower. It caused me so much stress and so much hassle, and I did wrong, without a doubt. The garage and the swimming pool, I did wrong, but the rest of it was just bullying. I just didn't get why they were going to these lengths. But later in the video, Jane received a phone call and all of it made sense.
This got really serious. In fact, the battles went on for years. It cost tens of thousands of pounds in solicitors and architects. And eventually, it came to D-Day. We ended up in front of the highest possible planning board, and it all came down to their decision. I put through all of my arguments. I explained how and why I had made my decisions. There was a lot of positive feedback from the committee. They said that they were well built, tasteful, and matched the property perfectly. It was starting to look good for me. But then our man from the parish council stepped up for his time to speak and give his opinions on my home. This is where once again he stepped over the line. He explained to the committee he had grown up living in the area and seeing this farm every day. He said that I'd extended a building from fitting 30 cows to 300 cows, and I had turned the farm into an overdeveloped mess. It was a total lie, and it created a dark cloud over my head.
And the biggest lie on that night was the councillor told that committee that there was no wildlife here. All my concrete and brickwork had driven all the natural wildlife away. And as you can see, it couldn't be any further from the truth.
But unfortunately, that statement I could see swung the committee. They believed the parish councillor.
In that room, you don't have to swear under oath. And I soon learnt that the hard way. You were able to say what you wanted to get your own way. I was new to this, so I was playing by the rules. And ultimately, it was determined that that garage and the swimming pool had got to be taken down, meaning hundreds of thousands of pounds was wasted and down the drain.
So I had to deconstruct my beloved pool. It was all gone, every single brick of it.
So it seemed like the parish councillor had got his own way. It obviously cost me a lot of money and many sleepless nights, and seemingly for no reason or benefit to anyone. But this is where it goes from silly to ridiculous.
The council's reasoning for knocking down these buildings is this: seeks to protect the openness of the green belt. So basically, it means I'm blocking the countryside. Fair point. But I was granted permission to rebuild the swimming pool again, the same, but just this time in the correct original planning position.
But as you can see, the place where I rebuilt it, you can't see any green, and that is legal. So the whole exercise of moving it from there to there was expensive, bad for the environment, and pointless. Yes, I broke the rules, I get that, but where does common sense prevail? Makes no difference. No difference.
Same story with the garage. I was granted permission afterwards again to rebuild it. Smaller this time, but way worse for their argument of seeking to protect the openness of the green belt.
As you can see, it blocks any of the green scenery, so it totally defeats the whole object. And it wasn't as nice as my beautiful corner garage.
And ever since I built the new garage, it's been a bit of an empty, messy building. But today, we're finally going to change that with the guys from Garage Style for a quick makeover. But there was one thing on my mind that I just couldn't figure out. Why were the council being so persistent and volatile towards me? I'd been caught out, but they were taking it way further and deeper than it ever needed to go. But over and over, we saw the same name. There was one person which seemed to be heading this witch hunt. I still just didn't understand why. But by the end of this video, you will see it all made sense. Regardless, the new garage we had rebuilt was now transformed.
Ta-da! Right, come and have a look. So they put this amazing flooring down with some lovely little touches. Obviously I had all the cupboards done, toolbox in there with nothing inside obviously. Bought myself a load of trophies.
Be busy.
And put some cool lights up. So we've got 3 cars in here, probably poshest cars which I use all the time. That is epic. Just been on Carwell with that, which was an amazing day. Such a great car. So actually, there's news in. They do the thing called Auto Express Awards of the Year, and the wheel and the wrap has just been voted for the best combination car ever made.
No, it hasn't.
No, it hasn't, no. Obviously, for our SF90, just been on Matt Armstrong's channel with that. Won't spoil it. But and then a Mercedes C63 Black Series. And literally my favourite car of my collection. That car sounds good, looks good, goes up in value. Fantastic. And then Sinclair C5. Anybody who's prehistoric watching this video will know all about them, like me. Like, considering, obviously, you've got to imagine that my heart was set on that garage down there, and to lose that was like just a massive blow. Totally my fault, but it was a massive blow. So to have this, thanks to everyone who's helped, because it looks epic. Garage Style link is in the description. Thank you guys, because this looks the nuts. Right, one more very special thing to show you, but we've got to go upstairs. Right, this is big, really big. Obviously, this is just a dumping ground for buggy parts, but behind this wall is something we've been wanting to do for such a long time. Right, shoes off in here.
Shoes off?
Oh yes, this is big. Oi, shoes off. So this is it. This is our podcast live room. What do you think?
Looks fancy.
It's not too shabby, is it?
So we're going to have live on YouTube every Thursday at 6 p.m.
Hang on a minute, where's Senna?
Oh, we've got a new sound engineer.
It's going to be a good live stream.
But the good thing about this is we're going to be telling some stories which don't usually make it onto the channel, and get to explain stuff a bit, because a lot of the content we do is so fast and so quick paced that we don't get to, you know, interact with you guys very much. So this is going to be a fantastic opportunity to get involved.
I'm not here.
Hopefully you will be there Thursday to support our new slot. So please make sure you're subscribed to the Mark II channel to get notifications of when we are going live. I reckon we should call it Thursday night action, because my Friday night action would definitely get demonetised.
Now, unfortunately, the council were not quite finished there. We had done everything we were told. Knocked down the pool, rebuilt it, knocked down the garage, rebuilt it, lowered the decking, which was a nightmare. and we had spent years and valuable energy fighting this out. But there was one more thing that they moaned about.
And of course, it was this. This is 10 acres of petrol head paradise, and for me, the main reason I fell in love with this house. If you are a subscriber, you will have enjoyed some epic days up here, some of the best memories of my life. I have ridden and driven round this track since the very first day I bought this place. It's a pinch me moment when I think this is mine. I love cars, but what I love more is going sideways in them.
So I bought this extra field off my next door neighbour, another 7 acres of perfectly flat track. And there is the problem. I wanted some jumps, so I got the digger in and I built 3 massive, great big mounds. Now it turns out that is illegal and it's classed as engineering works. So yet again, I had the council come back at me, and I guess it's because that parish councillor complained again. Because who is there to upset apart from some worms? And for 3 jumps, I didn't want to go for the hassle of getting full planning permission. So I got the digger back in and flattened all those jumps. So finally, the house, the outbuildings, the decking, and this track are fully legit. And I've learnt my lesson. But who was this parish councillor? Why was he coming after me? And very soon, we're going to find out. Right, time for a celebration lap. Now, I wasted a lot of money fighting the council, and I am never going to get that back. But I'm also going to let you know why the parish council did what they did to me. Now, you might have also been wasting money, and you might not know about it, because you might be missold car finance. And I'm going to show you a way that you could get that money back by using Reclaim 247. Now, if you had taken out a PCP or hire purchase agreement between 2007 and 2021, you might have been paying too much interest. And I'm going to show you a way to get a refund on that money. Now, you can do this yourself by using Martin Lewis's template or the Financial Ombudsman, but if you're anything like me, that is never going to happen. So, with Reclaim 247, you can use their online calculator and they start the ball rolling in only a few minutes. Now, they do everything from finding your old agreements to speaking to lawyers, so you don't have to do anything at all. Right, now this is an absolute no-brainer because you could be entitled to thousands, and if you've bought more than one car, you could be up for more than one refund. So head over to the link in description, and thank you Reclaim 247 for sponsoring this video. So remember, back for the entire video, there was a parish councillor who kept on coming for me hard. Who exactly was he, and why was he so motivated? Well, we managed to find out exactly why.
So we kept getting calls at home on the telephone, and this went on for about a week. Every time I'd ask the guy what he wanted, he'd just say he wanted to speak to Mark. I'd tell him Mark wasn't here, he was at the office, and he would say, right, I'll call again. Well, the last time that he did it was obviously desperate to kind of offload to us. So he was ringing anonymously to advise that there was a parish councillor with a vendetta against Mark, wanted to hurt him and us as a family, and he was basically going above and beyond to cause as much hurt and disruption to us as a family as possible. He basically said that the parish councillor had not such a squeaky clean councillor record as he should have. He most definitely had done things to his own property that were outside of planning permission requirements, and he wasn't as squeaky clean with his family either.
Interesting, that one, wasn't it? But that didn't answer why he was targeting us and seemingly trying to ruin our peaceful, happy home. But the reason? It's mind-blowing. The anonymous caller then shed a light on everything. The night of the auction over 20 years ago.
Remember how I was in a bidding war with someone who was just as keen as I was to buy this dream home? Well, it turns out that man was the parish councillor.
I think he made it his mission to try and ruin our home. The system has failed us. He used his power and influence against us because of his jealousy.
He vindictively brought stress and hurt to my wonderful family for years.
So the big question is, did he abuse his powers? Yes, I was definitely in the wrong, but did I deserve that? Right, I will see you Thursday, live, 6 p.m, and also next Tuesday.
Please don't forget, in a few days' time, this Saturday, 14th of June, is the Revved Up show at Santa Pod. I am so excited for this show. It's going to be an epic day out, full of supercars going up that drag strip. You can use the link in the description to get a discount. Hopefully, I will see you there in person.